Welcome back to another episode of Future Money. Hope you guys had a great weekend. There's been a lot happening over the weekend. We're going to talk about how Bitcoin has the potential to get to 108. We're going to talk about Ethereum could be at a crucial point before it starts rising rapidly. We're going to talk about XRP. Morgan Stanley has jumped into XRP. We're going to talk about that. We're talking about Nvidia. We also got 5 stocks that I've pinpointed over the weekend that I think is going to, they can do extraordinarily well over the next 5 to 10 years. Before we get started, we do have an event now in in LA. It's called DeLorean Dreams. We're going to talk about AI, quantum computing. We have some nice guests that are going to show up, teach you guys all that. I'm going to do a lecture for an hour. We're going to talk about the best possible investments over the next 5 to 10 years. I'm going to put that link. I get that link and put it in the bio real fast. Link. Give me 1 second. It's actually a link in my bio, but if you're in LA, I encourage you to come to the event because every single event that I do always gets sold out. And then people write me right before and they're like, hey, can I get a ticket? No, it's too late because this is a Live Nation event. It's on Ticketmaster. So I cannot control the ticket sales. So if you don't have the tickets, you don't have them. Let me give me 1 second here. What? I'm going to send Chuck, I'm going to send you the flyer for this event. See if you can get it up on the screen sometime later in the episode. I just sent it to you. So we're going to see if we can show you that flyer for that event. But we do have a lot. We're going to hopefully you guys can come out if you're close to LA, fly in. It's on May 22nd, 7 p.m. I know it's a Thursday, but it's also right before Memorial Day. So hopefully you guys will be off that day anyway. So come Thursday, have fun. We're going to have CNC members. We're going to have an event the day before for CNC members to come free mixer. So if you're in the CNC, you can also show up to that event. Mike is working on it. So that event should be announced to CNC members sometime in the next week. So hopefully, please drop a like if you haven't done so. Subscribe to the channel. I'd really appreciate that. But let's get into it, right? So, first thing I want to talk about is, give me a second. Main scene. This is not mine. Start broadcast home. There we go. Bitcoin. So we're going to talk about where Bitcoin is right now. So Bitcoin, that's XRP. Oh, that's Bitcoin. So Bitcoin continues to make higher highs from its local price action. Since bouncing back above that resistance, which shows that buyers are still coming into the market at these levels, Bitcoin is showing great strength since breaking above resistance. Could be building momentum before a potentially explosive move. MicroStrategy, this is what I really like, is MicroStrategy and a lot of other corporations, companies, institutions, and banks are buying a lot of Bitcoin right now. And what this does is it tells me that there's still a lot of demand for Bitcoin. Now, because we've had some pullbacks and some turbulence in the market because of the tariffs, retail investors are not excited anymore. Now that gives us a great opportunity to get in right now because once the retail frenzy starts and it pushes into altcoin season, sometime Q3, end of the summer, we're going to see a lot of craziness. And at that point, it's too late. You miss your boat. And that's when a lot of people continue to lose and invest in is because they wait on the sidelines, right? The same thing with my tickets in LA. They wait on the sidelines, and then once the frenzy happens, then they want to jump into it. This is what hurts me so much when it comes to investing, is that I've been doing this for years. I've made a lot of money. I've changed my life. More than this invested in crypto stocks, emerging investments, emerging technology has changed my life more than any hard work. I remember I went to school for software engineering. And I couldn't have made as much as I've made investing as I did as a software engineer. I made a lot of money. I made a pretty good salary as a software engineer. I worked for AAA for a while, one of the biggest companies in the United States. I think it was it's a not-for-profit, but still one of the biggest entities in the United States. And they paid us well, but there's no way I could have made as much working for AAA, making a high salary as I do as investing. One time somebody came up to me and says, hey man, do you make more? Because a lot of influencers do this. They say, do you make more on your YouTube and all your social medias than you do. Like, is that your biggest income right now? And I said, well, I'm not lying. It's a pretty good income. The events and all this other stuff that I do, I really appreciate you guys supporting me, and I really like it, and I like it a lot. I love to teach. But there's no way possible that what I can do as for work could ever possibly catch up to what I make investing. And that's the power of investing, is that if you do it the right way, there's no way that anything you can possibly do in life could catch up, right? And that's how the rich get richer. That's why you see people, you'll see online, you'll see stuff like Mark Zuckerberg's hourly income is like 10 million an hour. The reason why it's so high is because most of his investment comes from, most of his salary or income comes from investing in his own companies, other companies, or whatever it may be. He can, no matter what work he can do, will never catch up to that. And that's the power of investing. That shows what the era that we're in right now. We're in almost a new industrial revolution, but it has to do with AI, Web3, quantum computers. It's a change, right? And in that change, if we go back to the early 1900s, we see that there was a new rich that came out of nowhere. Now, before the early 1900s, before mechanization, industrial revolution, when farms and plantations and landowners were the rich, the elite in the United States, it was almost impossible for you to become rich because you couldn't do it without having land. You couldn't have land unless your parents had land and passed it down to you. It was almost impossible. How was you going to acquire the land? If you were a farmhand in the late 1900s, or ex-slave or whatever it may be, it was almost impossible for you to acquire land and become rich. Then the Industrial Revolution came. Now, that let people with special abilities be able to see things, able to invest in emerging technologies at the time, the ability to make a lot of money. And that shook the whole world up. It was a period of 10, 20 years in which, and they displayed this in The Great Gatsby, is that the new rich were looked down on because they didn't know how to accept these new people. All of a sudden had all this money, and these other people come from old family money. And then that quickly went away, and then the entrepreneur was prized as an American story. So that happened in the early 1900s. Now we're in the second industrial revolution, in which there's a new way for people to make money that doesn't have to do with work. You're right in the middle of it right now. And if you play your cards right, you can set your family up and your generations up after you for the next 10, 20, it's 3, 4, 5 generations, if you play your cards right. Now, we got some super chats here. Mickey, $5, I really appreciate that. Terry says, thank you for your knowledge for many years now, constantly building my portfolio because of you and taking action. I appreciate you too. Terry, thank you so much for the super chat. So, Bitcoin right now, the thing about Bitcoin right now is right at 97,000. Right now, last time I checked, I could check on the screen again. Where is it? Let me see. So this pen's hard to get out. So Bitcoin right now is at 94,000. I was a little wrong. I did this earlier this morning. But the thing about Bitcoin, this is what I like so much about cryptocurrency, is that we're in this new industrial revolution. And remember back in those days, the people that were rich from plantations, farming and all that stuff before, they found it almost impossible to understand the new rich. They found it impossible to understand how money and wealth can be generated from factories, from mechanization, from inventions. They couldn't understand that. So they chose to discredit the entire movement. That's what you see in The Great Gatsby. The Great Gatsby had more money than everybody around him, but because he was new rich, they tried to discredit him. And now it came from I think alcohol, it came from rum running or whatever he was doing back then too. But that wasn't really, it was kind of alluded to in the movie, but in the book also, but they never actually confirmed it. But that's what they say in the book. But regardless, he was new rich, right? So that's what's happening right now, is these people from the old guard, they're looking at cryptocurrency, looking at these emerging technology investments, Nvidia and all these other AI, and they're very angry and they can't accept it. And they're looking at this and there's no way this is going to work. That's a mental bias that you got to get rid of, anchor bias. But so what they've done is that they've let their emotions take control, and they've heavily shorted Bitcoin. Bitcoin's heavily shorted right now, even at 97. We're at the point of an imminent short squeeze on Bitcoin. Now, for people who don't know, let's go ahead and break down what a short squeeze is again, because a lot of people may not understand it, but I like to use this as a teaching moment. Now, whenever an asset, now there's two ways you can get into a stock or an asset. You can go long, you can go short. Long is traditional. That's when we, give me a second. Now, traditionally, when we buy a stock, what we do is want to buy low, sell high. So we buy it low, hope for the stock, we buy it at 50, hopes it goes to 100. We sell it, we make $50 profit. Now, now another way you can go is you can do short, and that means you can make money as a stock or asset is declining. Now, how do you do that? Well, what you do is that you borrow the stock from somebody. Now, all this is done on the platforms that you're on, so you don't ever see this happening, but you press a button, you go short. When you go short, you borrow the stock from somebody, you instantly sell it. So that same stock, you go short at 100, you sell it at 100. Now, you have $100 in your pocket. Now you say, well, when this stock gets to 50, I'm gonna take this 100, buy back that stock, and return the stock back to the original owner. Now all the owner wants is a stock back. It don't matter what the price is. They want a stock back. Just like if your friend loaned you a car, a Honda, you instantly sold that Honda. Let's say he was on a trip in Europe. So you sold the Honda, and then when he comes back, you wait for the Honda to drop in price, you buy it back, and the same Honda's sitting there. He don't care, he just wanted his car back. Same thing with stocks. They don't care, they just want the stock back. So you made money, so you remember you instantly sell it at 100, you wait for it to drop to 50, you buy it back at 50, return the stock to the original loaner, and you keep the difference of the 50 in your pocket. That's what a short is. Now, the other side of the short squeeze is that when you do this, when I borrow that stock, I sell it, now I'm under obligation to give that stock back to the original loaner. So hopefully the stock is gonna drop, I can buy it at a cheaper price, but what if I'm wrong? If I'm wrong, the stock keeps going up to 125, 150, 200. I have to buy that stock back eventually. So as the stock rises in price, I start to get nervous. Well, now instead of me using the $100 that I sold the original stock for to buy it back, I gotta add another 50 with it to buy it back at 150. So now I'm negative 50. So what if it goes to 200? Now I gotta take $100 out of my own money, add it to the 100 that I sold it for, and buy the stock back to give it back to the original owner. So what if it keeps going up? So I start to get nervous. So that's what's called a short squeeze. When a lot of people start getting nervous, they took out shorts against a certain asset. So now, because they're all under obligation to sell it back, to buy it back. So what happens is as the stocks start going up, people start panicking. They start buying their shorts back to give back to the loaners. And as they do that, the market sees this as a buy, like anything else. The market thinks that people are buying stocks to sell it back, to give it back to the loaner. So this causes a lot, then as they do this, the market goes up even higher and then as it goes up higher, those other people that shorted are getting nervous too, and they have to go back and sell. Then it starts feeding into itself, and it becomes what's called a short squeeze. And that's when the asset will go up a lot as these shorts are forced to close out their positions and buy those stocks back. Now, if Bitcoin moves 3% higher, $3.3 billion worth of short positions will be wiped out. 3%, which puts us at about 100. A lot of people shorted Bitcoin at around $100, 100,000, I'm sorry. That's the short. If Bitcoin reaches 100,000, in the next 2 weeks, we're gonna see a short squeeze and push it past all-time highs, right? A chain reaction of forced buying. And a lot of institutions are watching this happen right now. Big players see this as a key moment. ETF inflows and institutional positioning point to long-term confidence in Bitcoin. So if this does happen, it's going to push us past all-time highs, usher in altcoin season, push up XRP, everything. Now, this is the last cycle I believe that Bitcoin will be the driver of the market, but it still is. So we have to watch Bitcoin closely, even if we like XRP, even if we like any other coin, because without Bitcoin doing what it's supposed to do, all the other coins are not going to do it well at all either. So we have to watch Bitcoin at least for the next year or two. So I need you guys to like the video. We only got 765 people in here. I need you guys to like the video if you haven't done so. And also, please subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so. So we're going to talk about Ethereum next, why Ethereum may be poised for a breakout. So we got any more super chats? No. So Deshaun says, man, you're helping more people than you can imagine. We're getting our whole church in on it. I appreciate that. Where's your church at, Deshaun? Where are you located, if you don't mind? Did you get that image? Oh, can you put on you got it on the, all right, let's put that up there. Huh? Left. Oh, okay. Let's see if we can get it on the, oh, there we go, yeah. So there it is right there. So that's the event that's happening in LA, May 22nd, Los Angeles. The tickets are the link in my bio. I'm going to put in the chat also. So make sure you come out. Remember, every event I've ever done has been sold out. With the with the exception of Houston, and that was because the electricity went out the weekend before, and we couldn't, and everybody was scared to come. The whole electricity was it was a big storm in Houston the week before, and most people didn't come. So, and back then people would buy at the last minute. So the last 3 days were really when we sold all the tickets. People didn't come. So that was the only one I didn't sell out, but everything else I've sold out. So make sure if you're in LA or close to LA, you can fly in LA, make sure you come on May 22nd. So I want to talk a little bit about, and that's the flyer right there. Let me see. Yeah, the flyer is there. So, and we're also going to announce the guest this week. So it's not going to just be just me. It's going to be real estate experts. It's going to be technology experts. There's going to be entrepreneurship. There's going to be very, very rich individuals that are going to tell you how they did it. So it's a whole 2.5 hour show. It's going to be like stepping into a dream. Now, what I mean by that is that in my life, there's been a couple of moments where I've had dreams. And when you awake from that dream, it's like everything changed. Your brain has made new connections. You start to see things differently. And I want to replicate that experience at this event. So when you walk into it, it's going to be like walking into a dream. And I mean, aesthetically, music, everything. And by the end of this show, I want you to be forever changed. I want you to be able to make connections that you never have done before in investing, and in technology, in real estate, in wealth building. I want you to be able to walk out a different person, more inspired and more filled with knowledge, ready to execute and make a lot of money. So let's talk a little bit about Ethereum and why it could be poised for a breakout. Now, 22.5% more Ethereum more addresses have been added since March. Long-term holders are buying a lot more. Since March, key Ethereum holders have increased their holdings by 22.5%, showing strong belief in Ethereum's future. They're lowering what they're doing is what we always tell you to do, is they're dollar cost averaging in. Instead of selling during the dips, big holders are using it as a buying opportunity to bring their average cost down. And when Ethereum recovers, they end up making a lot more money. Stronger confidence in Ethereum, these wallets typically hold for 5 months. They continually, and there's a lot of buying signals that are going out right now that are increasing the conviction that Ethereum is severely undervalued. Now, I believe that Ethereum is severely undervalued, and there's several reasons for that. One is that the Bybit hack that affected principally Ethereum. People are underestimating Ethereum's power because they think Solana is a serious competitor, which it is a competitor, but it's not in the same lane as Ethereum. Ethereum is still the biggest DeFi platform on the planet. Solana is a different platform, but people don't understand the difference. But there's room for both to succeed in this market. Institutional interest in Ethereum is growing a lot. Large transactions, wallet activity shows that whales and bigger players are positioning for the next move. If sentiment continues like this and demand increases, we're going to see Ethereum soon pass 2,000. And once it passes the 2,000, 2,100 mark, that's when we're going to see panic set in, FOMO set in, and it's going to push Ethereum back to all-time highs. Now, I really believe that we'd be past all-time highs in Ethereum by now, but with the tariffs, with a lot of other stuff, with the Bybit hack, it's kind of put us behind on that. So I want to talk about the stock market now, talking about Nvidia and a few tech stocks I think are going to do extraordinarily well into the future. So somebody says, I'll be in San Diego, but I'll be there. I can't wait to meet you. Can't wait to meet you either, Lisa. My son and myself met you last year at the event in Dallas. We were in South Carolina. I think I remember you. Ethereum won't go up with Bitcoin. If Bitcoin tanks, Ethereum will double. James, my brother, always dropping jewels. I appreciate that, James. Thank you for the super chat. Who else did it? Mickey. I appreciate the super chat, Mickey. If you like the content, you can support the studio, the videographers, everybody that's here by dropping a super chat. So what exactly makes Bitcoin the market driver? Is it value? And how could another coin take over? Now, Bitcoin is the market driver because it was the first to market, right? It had the first mover advantage. 2 is that it's the biggest, most well-known crypto. It's the most held crypto on the planet. 3 is that it's almost 65% of all of cryptocurrency's value in the world is in Bitcoin. Bitcoin has the most value simply because it's the oldest, it's the most familiar, has the most advantage because it's been out the longest. So that probably will change at some point into the future. But right now, that's the way it is. Why does gold drive the markets? Because gold is one of the oldest store of values in history. So a lot of times is that things like Bitcoin will drive the market because that's what most of the money's in. And you got to remember this. Another thing too is that whenever we look at these exchanges, the biggest trading pair between any other coin is always Bitcoin. So because it's like the U.S. dollar, the biggest exchange in any currency in the world is the U.S. dollar. So the U.S. dollar is more or less the reserve currency of the world, but it's the currency that is the currency of record, more or less, for the world. Now, Bitcoin is like the U.S. dollar in the world of cryptocurrency. It's the currency of record. So the value of every crypto is almost related in how much Bitcoin you can get for that coin. Now, I'll show you this right now. If we go into coin market cap, let's just go to a random coin. I'll show you right now, if you could see. So let's say we just go into Tron. Tron's still doing pretty good. I thought that would be gone by now, but I guess it's not. So if we look at Tron, right, and we go to markets, and we don't use USD, we don't use, see if you kick out all the stable coins, because people are trading out the dollars, the next, I don't know if you can see it on the screen, but the next trading pair, the biggest trading pair is Bitcoin. I can't show this. I don't know if you can see it, but right here. So Tron, every coin, the number one trading pair in any coin is always Bitcoin in that particular coin. And that coin is almost valued. The price you see on coin market cap, like Tron right now is 24 cents. That's not really what it is. It's an aggregate price of all the exchanges that Tron exists on, and also its value in different cryptocurrencies converted to US dollars. So if you kick out all the first 21, the top 21 trading pairs of Tron is Bitcoin. I'm sorry, stable coins. But if you go to 21, it's Bitcoin. So that's always the number one trading pair of any cryptocurrency is Bitcoin in that particular coin. So that also affects the price of the coin. So if Bitcoin goes up, of course, those values of those currencies also go up because they're denoted in Bitcoin. Mickey, I really appreciate that. Super chat, Mickey. Thank you so much. $20. I really appreciate that. I really appreciate that $20, man. So let's talk a little bit about Nvidia. Then we're going to talk about some other coins that could do extraordinarily well. Nvidia could possibly explode after May 28th. Nvidia has earnings that day. Many signs point to a surprise comeback, which could send that stock jumping. Now, I think they're going to pass expectations on. Last time I didn't think they would, and they did, so I was wrong on that. But this time I think they are going to surprise the market. There's a lot of demand in chips still. AI chips are still in high demand. Companies still need a lot of AI chips. I mean, a ridiculous amount. AI still makes the best. Main chip supplier, TS, this is one indicator, is that TSMC, Taiwan Superconductors, manufacturing company, they are still getting strong orders for Nvidia. They just announced that the other day. So, and Nvidia is jumping into data centers. 90% of Nvidia's money right now is coming from chips used in data centers, not their own, but other data centers. Now, in the third phase of AI, remember we talked about how it was going to play out over 2 years ago. So first, it was going to be shock and catch up. Second, it was going to be software integration. Third is expansion, which includes data centers, cloud-based solutions, AWS. And at the last is going to be disillusion, in which AI kind of goes into what like in the background, and you won't know what's happening. And a lot of people are going to say AI didn't work, but it will still be there. And that's what happens to technology. And sometimes it actually is disheartening, because regardless of how amazing a technology is, or how much it shocks us, or how much it changes our lives, humans are very cynical and very dismissive. Codain, I appreciate the super chat. So what happens is that regardless of how advanced the technology is, after 2 or 3 years, people say, that ain't nothing. That's what we're doing with AI right now. AI is nothing. A robot can walk right in the room. That's nothing. And that's disillusion, is that people they become familiar with the technology to the point that they don't even realize how transformative it is. And that's what's happening right now. And I told you a story when I was in high school. In college. So in college, this is back in the early 2000s. So over the summer, I got a robotics kit. Now it was a base kit. Now you could build whatever you want. It was a chip. It was a bunch of server boards, and then you could build a robot from that. A different type. You can build a walking robot or a driving robot, or a robot can do a bunch of stuff. But it was just a base kit for it, right? So I got that base kit all summer. I really wanted to know how to program a robot. So what I did is I programmed the robot so that it can drive around the house. Like you could throw a bunch of balls down, right? And the robot could find the red ball, pick up the red ball, and bring it back to you. At that time, that was crazy, right? So I was really excited about this. So my nephews came over, or nieces, or whoever, I forget who it was one of them. So I'm going to show them this robot. So I showed them. I was very excited. I was like 20 years old, 19 maybe. And this robot does it, picks up the red ball, puts it back. The kids ain't even paying attention. And they, any toy can do that. What is that? And I thought about that, and there were toys in the marketplace that could do stuff like that. But they didn't realize how complex that technology was, because they've seen it so much. It was so familiar to them. So they dismissed it completely. Those are kids, but adults do the same thing. ChatGPT is no longer surprising to us anymore. But the danger in this is that the technologies are still transformative. They're still making a lot of money. They're still doing a lot of great things. If you're not careful, you'll dismiss the whole industry because you're used to it. We do this with people too. A person could be an extraordinarily good person. He could be talented. And after you're familiar with the person, you start to lose respect for that person. It's actually a saying for this: familiarity breeds contempt. Is the more familiar you are with a person, in most cases, you start to lose respect for them. You start to figure like they're not as great as they are. Well, that's how people are. If you're not careful, you will do that with people, and you will also do that with technologies. You have to keep yourself at a distance and realize, hey, this person is what they say they are, or this technology is actually transformative. I just am familiar with it, right? Even in the military, they won't let officers hang out with enlisted men because of this concept called familiarity breeds contempt. The more the enlisted men are around the officers, hanging out, watching games, playing video games at home, they start to lose respect for the officer. Then pretty soon they don't see the officer as having the leadership capability he actually does have, because they're familiar with him. The same thing happens in technology. So that's the last phase of AI, is that we'll all get to the point where we'll be like, that's nothing, when actually it still is doing great things. Right now, some of the Oracle, one of their biggest profit drivers are databases. Databases have been out for 40, 50 years. That's not even, people are, database ain't nothing, but Oracle still makes a ridiculous amount of money on their databases. So does IBM. On the base technology that we see is not even nothing. But that's why you cannot allow yourself to be in that situation where you dismiss an whole technology because it's familiar, because it still makes a lot of money. Furtis, I appreciate the super chat, Furtis. Hope I said your name right. So I still do believe in SoundHound. So a lot of investors, like I said, are starting to become like that. So they're sleeping. They see Nvidia stock drop. A lot of the excitement and FOMO is out of the market. So people aren't really as excited about crypto or transformative stocks like they were a year ago. Now, I want to talk about XRP before we talk about 5 stocks I think could do extraordinarily well. XRP's big moment is happening right now. XRP right now, I believe, is at what, 213? But Morgan Stanley has just endorsed XRP's future, one of the biggest investment banks on earth. They see XRP as a legitimate rival to the global SWIFT system. Now, that's what Morgan Stanley just put out a few days ago. It's not just noise, institutional validation at the highest level. The future of money, Ripple's blockchain can settle payments in seconds across borders, something that the banking industry still can't do. Lower cost, faster speed, less fraud. XRP is built for the next era in global finance. That's why I believe so much in XRP. That's why I don't believe a lot of people, when they talk about XRP, and this is what I don't understand, is that they'll say, it's only $2. Now you gotta remember, there's certain thing is supply. Supply affects the price. Now if there's more supply of something, the price is lower. They'll compare that $2 mark to the 100,000 of Bitcoin and say it's nothing. But you have to look at supply as well. But XRP has done extraordinarily well over the last 7 months. Extraordinarily well. It's poised to do a bunch of great things in the future. We see banks, we see several banks talking about it. We see integration, we see secret SWIFT calls. We see all the signs happening. We see Brad Garlinghouse in the White House. ETF's institutional capital circling around. XRP's growing role in ETF conversations. Mainstream capital is about to rush in. This could be a launch pad that reshapes XRP's price trajectory and investor profile. Now, this is bigger than just saying what speculation, saying what XRP is going to do. It's going to move from hype to reality and function. XRP's real-world utility in banking and payments is going to start being taken seriously at the highest level sometime in the next year. Investors are watching closely. The crypto world got a wake-up call. If Morgan Stanley's right, XRP is not going to be just like Bitcoin or Ethereum. It's going to be digital rails for money all over the world. And that's what, if we see what's happening with XRP, the development of the XRP ledger, XRP acquiring companies that already move money around the world. We see the expansion of XRP services. We see them making partnerships and making, dealing with banks and dealing with institutions all over the world. We see Japan's integration this year. The writing's on the wall for what's happening to this worldwide movement. Don't sleep on it. Legacy systems are being challenged. Big money is paying attention. XRP could be leading the wave of institutional crypto adoption. Now, some people come back and say, if the banks are making so much money on the inefficiency, why would they allow XRP to take it over? Now, that's the good thing I love about technology. And in most cases, with enough time, the best technology will normally win. And that's what I like about technology, because it's not like that in anything else. Like, for example, Coca-Cola you can make a better Coke right now, but Coca-Cola will buy it from you and bury it. So the best Coke will never survive. In technology, in most cases, the best will survive. Now, that's not true in all cases, because right now, these computers are run by, I guess those are Apple, but these over here are Microsoft, Windows computers. Now, Windows is not the best operating system. It is the most compatible. It is the most widely known, but technology-wise, there's versions of Unix and Linux out there that are a lot better than Windows. But Windows is still on top. But in most cases in technology, the best technology will almost always win. We saw it with Uber, especially when it's challenging a legacy system. A lot of times when a technology is challenging a legacy system, it will almost always win with enough time. Now, there's going to be some pushback, like with the taxis. You remember back in Uber 10 years ago, airports were fighting Uber like the plague. They did not want Uber at those airports. Remember, airports get a kickback from those taxi companies that are there. So they would rather deal with the taxi companies. So they still do this. They make you walk way across the airport to go to Ubers. They still do this even now. But I remember they banned Ubers like all outright at a lot of airports. Banned them. You couldn't do it. And then they started to accept it because the customers that were landing at the airports wanted Uber. Uber's more convenient. You don't have to talk to nobody. It's a lot cleaner cars, better cars. It's a lot better of an experience. So a lot of younger people especially wanted Ubers. So over time, the airports had to bend to that. And that's what's going to happen with XRP is that, yeah, of course, they want the Swift payment network to continue going. They're making money off of it. But with enough time and with the competitive state of the world is that the banks that adopt XRP first will all of a sudden be a lot faster, a lot quicker, a lot cheaper, a lot more efficient. So it's going to cause every other bank, it's game theory, to have to catch up. And when that happens, XRP will take over the worldwide economic system. It may take time, but it will lead the next wave of institutional crypto adoption. Now I want to talk about 5 stocks I think are going to do extraordinarily well. We already talked about Nvidia, but I want to talk about 5 more. Before we do that, I need you guys to share. Please like the video. Don't have hardly any likes on this video. And if you haven't subscribed to the channel, please subscribe to the channel. Why is the camera today so good? Is that a different camera? When you move the cameras around, the colors look more vibrant. I don't know why. Somebody says, how do you think XRP could afford to buy other companies for billions? Because they're using the retail money to buy real companies. XRP value will never go over $4. I disagree with you, Space. We've seen XRP almost reach $4 in a whole different environment in which Bitcoin was at the time like 20,000. So we know that XRP has the ability to get to $4. In a market where cryptocurrency wasn't as popular, Bitcoin was a lot lower and there wasn't any kind of institutional involvement. So why would you believe that it can't at least get back to $4? I don't understand what you're thinking in that. And companies, this is what people get, this is what I understand about XRP as well, is that a lot of people come into crypto and don't understand how business or stocks or anything else works. And it's very dangerous. The crypto world is weird. And I've been in it for a while and I've seen it change, you know, from first, it's some weird people in this. And I love cryptocurrency. I've been in for a while. Sometimes I avoid people at these conferences because it's some weird, there's some scammy people in this. It's some weirdos. And sometimes it's, well, like, for example, cryptocurrency is the only investment industry, I guess, where somebody could wear a mask and people will still invest in the crypto. I don't get that. A dude can come on with a mask, he can alter his voice, and buy this crypto, it's gonna go up. And people will actually buy the crypto. I don't understand why somebody would do that. Like, people wear masks to rob you. Somebody goes in a bank with a mask on, you don't want to do business with them, they're gonna rob you. People still will invest in it. So I don't understand the thinking of people. I just don't get it. But back to what my original point was, that people in crypto don't understand how business works. Companies have used money companies will sell their stock. They will use that money from the stock sales to acquire companies. So how is XRP or Ripple any different? Why is that considered bad to you? It happens all the time. Now, if Ripple is using XRP to fund operations, to expand, to grow, that's what companies have done since the beginning of the stock market. That all the way back to the Dutch Indian shipping company, the first stock ever. Back in the early the first stock ever was because people wanted to go to India and get these spices that Indians own, and were only in India. These spices that they needed to preserve and also flavor food became very expensive in Europe. People were making a lot of money just taking ships over to India, filling them up with spices, coming back. But you have to remember this is that they can only do it with small boats because this is before the stock market was ever invented. So somebody came up with a bright idea. Instead of taking small boats and funding it myself, why don't I collect money from investors? I sell them a share in the operation, and then once the spices come back, whatever we sell it for, we all take a part in the split of whatever we sell these spices for. That was the first stock that was ever created. So the guy did that, and he can now fund giant ships that can be full of spices, higher efficiency, and make more money for everybody instead of all these people doing little boats. That was the first stock ever. Now, what he did is that he collected money from the general public to fund the operation, to go buy spices, to come back, and now everybody else will share in the profits and revenue of whatever they were doing. Now, how is what Ripple is doing, how is it any different? They sell XRP, they use XRP to acquire companies. In turn, everybody will eventually be better off as the price of XRP goes up. That's no different than that. But because you're from crypto and not stocks or general business, you see that as some kind of way wrong. That's how businesses have been done since the beginning of time. There's nothing wrong with that. So, last thing I want to talk about, can you put that flyer back up there? So we do have the event in LA. I'm going to put it in the chat here. So the event is DeLorean Dreams in Los Angeles, May 22nd. We're going to talk about AI. We're going to drop some plays. We're going to talk about the biggest investments that are coming over the next 5 years. Everybody that's ever came to my event, if they've executed, they've made money. So if you've come to an event, put a money bag in the chat. So make sure you show up. The tickets will be sold out quickly. I just want to make sure you guys are there. It's going to be an amazing event. So I want to talk about the next 5 tech stops that could do 5 to 10 times in 5 years. You can take it off now. Symbiotic, that's one. SYM is one that's a leading warehouse automation tool. Automation with major, it had just got a major deal with Walmart. There's a 5 to 10% upside as robotic adoption starts to explode. That's Symbiotic, SYM. Other one is Mara. I think that Mara is a Bitcoin miner, the largest public Bitcoin miner on earth. Major Bitcoin holdings. They haven't been selling their Bitcoin. So if Bitcoin does go to 150, 200,000, we're going to see Mara go closer to 100. Right now it's at $22, $23. We can see it get to 100 if Bitcoin starts to go up. Nvidia, we've already talked about Nvidia. Palantir, I think, could do 5 times from here over the next 5 years. It powers AI for defense industry, profitable. They're winning massive government contracts, enterprise deals. They also do what people, it's kind of controversial, but they've just signed a deal where they're going to monitor the border and also track immigrants as they come into the country with AI. Now, a lot of people say that's bad, it's good. I'm not going to get into that, but they just signed that contract, and it has caused the price of the stock to start doing well again. So the last one is SoundHound. SoundHound right now is at right around $10. It can go to 30, 40 here quickly, 50. Over the next 10 years, it can get to 100. Next 5 to 10 years, voice AI leader, it was backed by Nvidia, expanding fast in auto and restaurant with room to grow 5 times or more. Now, I went to Wendy's, I went to Taco Bell over the last 2 weeks, and I actually heard SoundHound Systems asking for orders. So it is becoming more mainstream. SoundHound is doing well. We got $20 from Guyver. Hey, Armando, would you do a seminar at Hoshfer on Long Island? One of my best friends went to Hoshfer. I mean, I don't know. I would do it there if somebody just DM me and we'll talk about it. So yeah, just DM me on Instagram, Guyver, and we'll talk about doing that seminar at Hoshfer. And also, we'll talk about your residential assisted living advice. So just send me a DM on Instagram, and we'll talk about it. Mara is now $13. Maybe I'm wrong here, so sorry. Yeah, Mara's at, I'm sorry, that was the target. Mara's at $13. I apologize. I looked at the target. Sorry about that. I wonder how you block people on YouTube forever. A-Tally Construction, I appreciate it. Thank you so much. Really appreciate that. I'm going to give you guys 5 minutes to ask any questions. I'm going to let you guys go for the day. You always come through A-Tally Construction. What's your real name so I can call you your real name? It's Mara, not Myra, Mara. I still have remnants of a Southern accent. I was born in Tennessee. I was raised in Tennessee, so I've worked on it over the last few years. But sometimes I will say words with Southern accents. I meant to say Mara, Mara. Okay, we'll say it like that, Mara. Obviously, I know what Mara is. I've been talking about it for 5 years. Most of y'all didn't even know what Mara was until I told you 5, 6 years ago. I know the CEO of Mara. What's the best external device to store crypto on? Trezor. You can also use, as a bunch are out there. Arculus is one that I like as well. So with that being said, I hope you guys have a great day. I appreciate you. Have a great. I'll see you on Wednesday.